The sprawling $14 million Montecito mansion had always felt like a palace befitting two royal outcasts seeking refuge and independence. But for Prince Harry, it had become more like a gilded prison cell of despair and betrayal. It had been 3 agonizing weeks since Harry's entire world came crashing down around him. What started as yet another tedious day of Zoom meetings and PR calls took a devastating turn when an anonymous source emailed him explosive evidence, photos and video proof of his wife Meghan being intimate with none other than his own uncle, the disgraced Prince Andrew. At first, Harry had laughed it off as an obvious sick prank. There was no way the love of his life would ever betray him so viscerally, let alone with that reviled black sheep of the royal family. But as he examined the files closer, the truth punched him in the gut like a wrecking ball. This was incontrovertibly real. Every lurid frame cut deeper into Harry's soul, each racy video clip plunging new depths of anguish and despondency. His Meghan, the woman for whom he turned his entire life upside down, had well and truly cuckolded him in the most disgustingly perverse way imaginable. The humiliation was so total, so completely emasculating that it paralyzed the troubled royal with crippling despair. In the weeks since that fateful day, Harry had become a hollow, broken shell of himself. He roamed the palatial estate like a miserable phantom, avoiding eye contact with anyone for fear that they could somehow see the immense shame and pain he felt searing from within. Most days, he wouldn't even find the energy to leave his bedroom until well past noon, constantly hitting the snooze button on his phone to buy himself just a few more minutes of blissful unawareness before the harsh reality set back in. He stopped shaving and showering regularly, letting his infamous reddish beard grow out wildly unkempt. Food stopped providing sustenance or pleasure. Instead, the mere thought of eating made Harry's stomach churn with revulsion and despair. He survived mostly on lukewarm water and the occasional protein shake, which often sat unfinished and curdling for hours at a time. From the moment he rose in the mornings until his restless head hit the pillow each night, Harry was utterly consumed with torturous visions of Meghan and Andrew's passionate betrayal. Their naked, intertwined bodies kept replaying in an endless loop of anguish inside his haunted mind. Every single one of Meghan's conceivable little lies and cover-ups over the years were cast in a harsh new light of deception. That girl's trip to Vegas, where her phone had conveniently stopped working for days? Harry now realized it was a sordid rendezvous with his uncle, facilitated by the royal title he had sacrificed everything to abdicate. The mere thought of his turncoat wife made Harry physically ill with explosive rage one moment, only to crumble into pathetic, uncontrollable sobbing just minutes later. He alternated between violent fury and profound devastation in endless, unpredictable cycles of destabilizing anguish. "How could she do this to me?" he found himself wailing in messy bursts of tears, his voice trembling and hoarse. "After everything I gave up for her? My entire birthright, just to have her stab me in the heart like this?" In those turbulent flashes of volcanic anger, Harry would often sweep aside any objects within his reach in a burst of cathartic destruction. Expensive vases, tablets, and electronics were smashed into pieces with raw animalistic rage, leaving his bedroom floor an utter disarray of shattered remnants. One time he even took a bat to the priceless antique dresser his great-grandmother had once given him, splintering it into a heap of sawdust. But those rage blackouts would inevitably fade, quickly replacing fury with utter devastation and self-loathing. Sinking back down in a crumpled heap, Harry would descend into hysterical sobs that racked his entire body. He howled in agony like a wounded animal, tears and mucus gushing from his contorted face as all his pent-up anguish and destruction poured out. Why wasn't I good enough for her? What's wrong with me? The pathetic prince gurgled between violent gasps for air, spiraling into the deepest pits of suicidal depression. My life is over. My God, what have I done? For long stretches, Harry would remain in those craters of despair on the floor. Laying in the fetal position amid the debris fields of destruction he wrought, his disheveled frame quivered with uncontrolled emotional convulsions. All of the strength, confidence, and royally sculpted pride he had once possessed had dissolved into trembling insecurity and overwhelming existential despair. On one particularly harrowing night after a searing rage sob cycle, Harry found himself rambling drunkenly into his shower with one of his ceremonial Marine Corps blades. As scorching hot water poured over his crumpled, naked frame, he pressed the razor-sharp steel against his shaking wrist with grim determination. Time to just end it all, he mumbled out loud, resigned to slice through his inflamed flesh and arteries. I have nothing left to live for. Clutching the blade with both trembling hands, Harry let out one final shuddering inhale to summon the ultimate nerve to take his own life. But just before drawing that fateful crimson stroke, a sudden vivid memory flashed through his tormented psyche, visions of his two young children, willfully renounced by their own mother, dancing and playing without a care in the world. Their joyous, infectious laughter echoed through Harry's mind with rapturous warmth. In that resplendent moment of profoundly visceral recall, a spark of primordial protective instinct reignited somewhere deep within the prince's corroded soul. As if being violently awakened from a horrific trance, Harry gasped and immediately flung the blade away with an anguished scream. "Oh God, the children! What am I doing?" he shrieked, horrified at how close he'd just come to robbing his precious offspring of the only parent they had left. Convulsing with renewed spasms of wrenching, guttural sobs, Harry crumpled back down under the relentless shower stream. He curled up tighter than a premature infant, hot tears and burning water cascading over his quivering body as overwhelming waves of relief, sorrow and bewildered gratitude washed over him. Though the scars of Meghan's ultimate betrayal would likely never fully heal, Harry clung to the memory of his innocent children like a cosmic lifeline. In his darkest, most despairing hour, their effervescent purity and unconditional love had quite literally saved him from destruction. It would be an arduous, tortuous road back from this rock-bottom emotional devastation. However, Harry could start to feel the tiniest flicker of hope rekindle in his ravaged soul. For the sake of his kids and his own survival, he found the faintest resolve to carry on, one courageous step at a time. For now, though, all Harry could do was remain frozen on that shower floor, shuddering with raw release as every repressed ounce of overwhelming anguish poured out in a torrent of purging, cathartic despair. His great deliverance into grief would continue for an indeterminable stretch. The only path to slowly, painfully emerging from this all-consuming betrayal was to fully submerge himself in the blinding depths of unfathomable heartbreak.